Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a huge strategic shift happening in Indian agriculture. For decades, the name of the game was simple: produce more. But that's changing. Now, the focus is all about farming smarter. Let's get into why this is happening and what it really means for the future. And really, it all boils down to this one big question. For years, the answer was easy, right? Just use more land, more water, more fertilizer. But what happens when you hit a wall? When those resources are stretched to their absolute limit? Well, India needs a new engine for growth. And this isn't just a tiny adjustment. It's a total rethink of their entire agricultural strategy. So here's our game plan. First up, we'll look at why the old model has basically run out of road. Then we'll jump into the three key pillars of the new strategy, this big shift to efficiency, diversifying where the growth comes from, and using tech and infrastructure to build a stronger foundation. And finally, we'll pull it all together to see what this smarter future of farming really looks like. Okay, so let's start with the problem. The old way of doing things, the approach that powered the Green Revolution, it's just reached its limits, both physically and ecologically. It's a classic case of diminishing returns. I mean, think about it. You can't just keep throwing more resources at the problem. The amount of land isn't growing, and water is getting more and more scarce. This simple reality is forcing a major pivot. The new game isn't about the quantity of things you use, but the productivity you get out of every single one of them. And that brings us to the very heart of this transformation. If you can't use more, you have to get better. The new engine driving agricultural growth isn't about volume anymore. It's all about efficiency. Let's see how that's supposed to work. This is the big idea right here. Efficiency-driven crop growth. It's a fundamental change in mindset. The goal is to squeeze the maximum possible output from every single unit of input. We're talking about precision, about intelligence, and about getting the absolute most out of the resources you've got. So this whole new strategy is built on three main pillars that we're going to break down. First, managing inputs way smarter. Second, strategically diversifying into sectors with higher value. And third, building up rural infrastructure that actually creates productive assets for the long haul. Now take a look at this. This slide shows the problem so clearly. What you're looking at is the ratio of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium fertilizer that's being used. The ideal? The sweet spot is about 4 to 2 to 1. The reality? Almost 11 to 4 to 1. It's wildly out of whack. And this is a direct result of subsidies that make urea, the nitrogen one, super cheap. That leads to massive overuse, which ruins soil health and, in the end, actually hurts productivity. It's a perfect example of why we need smarter input management. So, how do you fix a problem like that? Well, the proposed solution is actually pretty clever. First, you raise the price of urea just a little bit so it reflects its real cost. But, and here's the kicker, you give that extra money directly back to the farmers as income support. So they don't lose any purchasing power, but the corrected price now encourages them to use fertilizers in a much more balanced and efficient way. It's better for their soil and ultimately better for their harvests. Now, the other big input, of course, is water. And the mantra here is per drop more crop. The whole focus is on rolling out micro-irrigation, things like drip and sprinkler systems. This isn't just about saving water, which is obviously huge. It's about boosting productivity by getting that water right to the plant's roots exactly where and when it's needed. Okay, on to pillar number 2, diversification. Because here's the thing, while grains are absolutely vital for food security, the biggest productivity gains, the real action, is happening somewhere else entirely. The strategy now is to tap into these high-growth, high-value sectors. This chart tells such a powerful story. I mean, just look at these numbers. Over the last decade, the traditional crop sector grew at a solid 3.5%. But look at the others. The livestock sector grew at more than double that rate, 7.1%. And fisheries, they're just off the charts, soaring at 8.8%. This is where the new opportunities, the new income, and the huge productivity gains are really exploding. And check this out. This is a huge milestone that really shows the shift in action. For the very first time, the production of horticulture, we're talking fruits and vegetables here, has actually surpassed the production of traditional food grains. This isn't just a number, it shows a massive change in what consumers want and what farmers are focusing on, higher value crops. But, diversification brings its own new challenges. India is pushing hard for ethanol-blended fuel as part of its goal for energy self-reliance, or Atmanirbharta. This has made crops like maize super profitable for farmers. The tricky part is that land now being used for maize is competing with land that could be used for pulses and oilseeds, which are critical for food self-reliance. It's a classic policy tug-of-war that has to be managed really carefully. All right, let's talk about the third and final pillar, the foundational layer of technology and infrastructure that really makes all of this other stuff possible. Because smarter farming needs smarter tools and much stronger support systems. And digital technology is a massive part of this. You've got initiatives like agritech, which is basically building a one-stop digital shop for farmers, giving them access to everything from soil health data to market prices. Then there's the Digital Agricultural Mission, which is all about getting the right information to the right farmer at exactly the right time. And I think this is really cool. There's a focus on smart tribal farming, which is all about blending that deep traditional agricultural wisdom with modern data-driven tools. The support system itself is also getting a major overhaul. The old Rural Employment Act, MGNRGS, is being replaced. And the key difference, you can see it right here, is the huge strategic shift it represents. Sure, the new act guarantees more workdays, but what's way more important is that it changes the focus from just providing any old work to specifically creating long-term, productive assets. So what exactly are these productive assets? Well, they're projects that directly boost farm productivity and resilience for years to come. Things like improving water security, building better rural roads, and getting communities ready for disasters like floods or droughts. This directly links rural employment to a more productive, more stable agricultural future. Okay, so we've looked at the three pillars. Now let's step back and pull all these threads together. What does this new era of smarter farming really add up to when you look at the whole picture? And here's the most important thing to remember. This isn't about finding one single magic bullet. It's a complete system upgrade. It's the combination of smarter input management, strategic diversification, and building that asset-creating infrastructure, all of it supercharged by technology. All these pieces have to work together. This quote from the source material just sums it up perfectly. This is a transition from administrative control to biological optimization. The old way was about top-down control, like setting a fixed price for fertilizer. The new way, it's about creating the right conditions for nature and science to do their thing, to let biology guide decisions to get the best possible outcome. And that really leaves us with a final thought. This is one of the biggest strategic pivots in agriculture happening anywhere on the planet right now. So, what happens when an entire nation's agricultural strategy shifts from sheer brute force to intelligent design? The answer will shape not just India's food security, but its entire economy and its ecological future. And you can bet the world will be watching.